You couldn't hear it clearly, but it was Paul Simon Graceland, and that song was called "Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes."
He had an announcement to make, and he wanted to make it, and he just did. So there
I
you go,
actually,
everyone.
I
There you
think
absolutely.
that I think that the moral of that song is like stop trying to impress people with like ridiculous things.
Makes
Diamonds on the
sense.
soles of
It's
your
good
shoes.
advice.
It's daft, but yeah. I don't know
That's
how
great
we're going to
advice.
introduce this one, Sam. So
I mean, you literally just started recording because you had that absolutely unreal announcement to make. So, you know what, mate, I don't know how we're going to introduce it either. What are we going to talk about?
so today we are definitely talking about a bit about mindset, definitely a bit
Mhm.
about training, a bit about nutrition, and then in each of them we've got a couple little subcategories. But
Okay.
the list of things that you put into the original message of what we were going to talk about, the way that you and I chat together, I have a feeling we might only get through one of them.
You know what, mate, that's okay. That's okay, because I think what that'll do is it'll give us a focus. It'll give people one thing to focus on and get as much info out of as possible. So I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
I've also just got that post Stairmaster buzz, so
Oh yes, let's go. Let's go.
good luck, everybody.
The endorphins are firing.
Oh god! And it was one of those Stairmaster sessions where you felt like I don't know, Godzilla just walking through a town, like it was just effortless.
Streamlined.
Oh
Those are the best sessions though, eh?
yeah. How are you anyway?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Um, it's been a good week. It's been nice and chilled. I went for my first ever facial on Tuesday.
Delightful.
Had a wee massage in that as well. It was nice. I'm looking young. I'm looking youthful.
You do.
Um, I played football last night, right? An 11-a-side game for the first time in, man, it has to have been about 5, actually maybe longer, 6 or 7 years. And my ankles and hips were absolutely burst.
I bet.
Absolutely burst. But other than that, mate, yeah, good. Good, good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. How's photo shoot still on? Is that
Yeah, mate.
still and how's that all coming along?
So I had to make some changes I made them on Friday. So that's nearly a week ago now. Because pretty much when we came off the podcast last time, which was what, about 3 weeks ago, maybe?
I think it must have
About
been
that
3 weeks ago.
things started to slow down a bit.
Yep.
So I'd upped cardio, and that wasn't quite getting things going the way I wanted them to. So I just went, you know what, appetite is low enough that I could be a little bit more aggressive with calories. So I dropped calories on Friday, and we're seeing a little bit more of the changes that we are wanting to see now. So fine, mate. Everything's fine. Everything's still very much in a place where it's manageable. It's not like I don't feel like I'm dieting.
Hmm.
But I mean, you've done this often enough, and for those of you that are listening who have dieted before, will know that you get that feeling like you're leaner. So I'm at that stage now, which is good.
So where are your targets in that? Because I'm sure people would love to know. Like, where is cardio? Where's steps? Where's macros or calories, depending on how you do it.
So cardio at the moment is at 80 minutes per week, and I do a circuit session with the TFG team on a Sunday, which is about you're about half an hour work there. So my total cardio is about 110 minutes a week. My calories are at 1,950, and my steps at the moment are about 8,000. So, yeah, very manageable numbers wise.
Do you have quite a big appetite naturally?
No,
No.
no. Like I wouldn't say. You know what, mate? Actually, it's a weird one. I can eat a lot of food, but I never feel outrageously hungry.
Yeah, I know what you're
So
saying.
yes, I don't know. It's a bit of a strange one. Bit of a strange one. I've always been like that naturally small guy. Anyway, I've always
Mm.
ran about. Always been mad into training, mad into fitness. So yeah, I've always been on like the leaner, smaller end. Anyway,
Mm.
yeah, just never really had that big of an appetite as a result of that. But yeah, it's a strange one.
Here,
People,
this is
people
like
listen.
kind of random though, but still on that same topic almost. Like, have you ever done like a 10,000 calorie challenge or anything like that?
No,
Think you could?
you know what, man? I actually, yeah, I do. I reckon I could. Like,
Maybe
have
that's
you?
what.
Have you
I,
ever done one?
I reckon I ate 10,000 calories post shoot first time I
Yeah,
dieted down, but
yeah.
I didn't like intentionally track it or that.
Is that
Yeah.
what you're a podcast a few episodes down the way? It's just going to be a pure mukbang of us. Just
Well, why not? Be like, what's his thingy avocado? You've seen him?
no.
Oh,
Who's who's that? What's his name
right. Just type up uh,
on YouTube?
avocado. Yeah, he's a YouTuber. Just type in avocado mukbang or something like that, right? This guy gained stupid amounts of weight and then has supposedly just lost it in the past 2 years. But this guy's nuts. Like, this guy's not right in the head.
What
That,
Nikado
that,
avocado?
that's him. That's him. That's him. So he was just a kind of regular guy, started doing mukbangs, gained loads of weight, like loads.
Yeah,
And then like just came out the other day saying that he was like 2 steps ahead or something, and in like the past 2 years he's gone vegan and or something like that, and he's dropped loads of weight.
yeah. Well, here he is. Here's like one of the YouTube shorts where like he's big. He's a dense boy. He's a
He's
very dense boy.
so for anybody listening, I don't care if I say this sort of thing, and I might get cancelled. Like he is carrying more body fat than is what's healthy. That's what Sam's trying to say there. Like he's
I well, I don't know if this is him, right? So that was him,
yeah, yeah,
right? Big boy,
big boy.
and then is this?
I don't know.
Is that him?
I don't know if that's him. No, I don't think that's him.
Nah, because
Nah,
I
I
say,
don't.
man, that
Maybe it is
he
though.
is.
The one I seen was he's just like slim, like he's just
Yeah,
dropped all his weight. But maybe he has. I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't even know if it's real. But I guess something to ask is like you know how for a little while there was like a big thing in the fitness industry that like people were like, it doesn't matter what a PT eats. PTs shouldn't be sharing what they eat and that. Like, did you ever see that? Like that was like a big thing for a little while.
yeah. I
But
know
then
that like the what I
mm,
eats in a day were
yeah,
a bit of a big thing.
yeah. So obviously, if someone's lying, it's bollocks. Like, don't lie. Don't say that you eat just like purely organic, healthy, high protein,
Yeah,
like quote unquote clean as fuck food. If you actually like eat Easter eggs and shit in one go, like
yeah,
just be honest. But
yeah,
it annoyed me when people were like trying to slate PTs for doing that, but then they would never mention like mukbangs. They would never
yeah,
talk about like people just like sitting there devouring like 10,000 calories. And the thing that I normally found is the people that were like slagging off these like what I eat in a day were normally people that had YouTube channels that would do 10,000 calorie challenges.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah. So like the what I eats in a day, or like what I eat in a day sort of things are. I think people are always interested in them because, like you're right, as PTs and as coaches who have also done photo shoot preps and who have also stepped on stage, so kind of gone to the end extreme of dieting, would be interested in what we eat
Mm-hmm.
on the daily for the most part. Um, but like I'll hold my hand up right now. Like I'm not the sort of PT or coach that like puts what he eats online and says that that is strictly what he eats every
Yeah,
single day.
no.
Like I love a Domino's as much as the next
Oh,
guy. Like I absolutely love fish and chips as much as the next guy. Tub of Ben and Jerry's. I'm
yeah.
all over it when we're at the cinema having the nachos and stuff like that. And I think, what's important for people is to understand that right there, that is my version of balance, which is
Yeah.
another word that we can maybe talk about at some point. But
Yeah.
that for me, that is my balance.
We can talk. We could. I guess we could just go into like the nutrition one now and just start since we're
Yeah,
on the topic anyway. Um,
yeah, man.
I think it's almost like though. Surely we should be putting some uh, blame, we'll call it, on the public to watch someone that's a PT and says, "Here's what I eat in a day, not every day. Here's what I eat in a day." For them to then assume, "Oh, that's what they eat all the time." Like I know myself. Like if I was to publish, promote, and speak more about like here's the pizza that I'm having, here's the fish supper that I'm having, here's the bit of chocolate that I'm having, here's the cake, here's the like whatever I have in a week. As soon as someone sees me eating it once a week, they're like, oh well, I could eat it 3 or 4 times a week. And I
Yeah,
think that's like one of the issues that people like. Well, and we'll come back to balance, and I'll ask you like what you think because it'd be interesting to hear because maybe I'm still pretty extreme, but we'll find out today. So like I I probably have still now in a fat loss phase, and I'm dropping about 2 pounds a week. Still have like something off plan. Last week I had like 3 things, and when I say off plan, that doesn't mean I follow a meal plan. It just means that I have a plan for fat loss, and the foods in that plan or the plan for fat loss are I want them to be nutrient dense, I want them to be high in protein, and I want them to be calorie controlled, and like favouring the lower side of calories, not low calorie for everything, but just lower calorie.
sure.
Um, and I think like when you start to understand calories better, and I know people will be like, "Fucking hell, you guys have said calories so many times." That is just like the measurement of energy that the body uses to heat up
Yeah.
a gram of water by 1 Celsius, and that's like the scientific. So just think about it like this: like when you put your hands under your armpits, it's warm. That's your body burning calories to just keep you alive. Like if you go cold, you die. You're not like your body's not then able to
Mhm.
function properly. When you go running, you get hot, you get sweaty. That's your body then burning more calories. Just think of it as like temperature of the body almost, if you can. I don't know if you've maybe got like a simpler explanation for calories there.
Yeah. I mean, think about so the calories that you would burn, not even thinking about it, would be for your brain to function, your internal organs, your body to regulate its temperature, to regulate digestion. Think of all the things that your body does that you don't even consciously think about
Mm-hmm.
requires calories to do. It requires energy to do. And I
Yeah,
think, yeah, how we always kind of talk about calories, like with our guys, is that all calories are is just a unit of measurement to measure energy. In the same way that a kilogram is a way or a unit of measurement to measure weight. A liter is a unit of measurement to measure liquid.
yeah,
A calorie is a unit of measurement to measure energy,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. And like so now that you understand it, like for me, everybody has like a calorie amount for the day, and that normally works on an average. Like some days you will burn more, some days you'll burn less. Like just don't worry about like the ones and twos. Think about like the 7 days, the average. Like I don't want to waste half of my day's intake of food on a pizza or that just now. I do it. I do it once a week, but like just now I'm favouring, let's say like I don't really like saying this. I don't want to say diet friendly because then that adds to
Yeah,
this idea of good and bad food, but it makes
sure.
fat loss easier for me. Does that make sense? So like
Yeah, yeah.
foods that are more filling, foods that are more nutrient dense, foods that I can eat a larger volume of, and foods that are higher in protein. Like that's what I lean towards.
Yeah.
And now, like, right, in like a total roundabout way, like, I'm going to come back to you and ask you, like, and this is something for everybody that's listening. Like, people constantly say that they want to have balance. Like, how much do people understand that balance still has to fit within your calories? Let's say 80% of the time, because we'll go with that 80-20. I like that. How many cakes a week should you be allowed? How many meals off plan? Or like how many takeaways, let's say, as opposed to meals off plan? How many takeaways should you have? How many like very high calorie meals with low nutrient density? How many do you think would slot into balance?
I think so. I think probably that the better way to frame it is because if we're talking about the context of fat loss, now if we're assuming that someone wants to lose body fat, we know, and most of the people listening will know, that in order for that to happen, you have to be in a calorie deficit for a sustained period of time.
Yeah.
It's the only way to drop body fat. And if you are wanting to achieve fat loss but still achieve a certain level of balance within your nutrition, then you can do that. You can essentially, to be honest, mate, like, and this might sound a bit shocking to people, you can do that in whichever way you want. Like, if you want to have less nutritionally dense foods, like your McDonald's, your takeaways, you want to eat your sweets, you want to have your chocolates and all these sorts of things, you can still eat these things and still be in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
And I think people don't quite understand that they can do that and still get the result they want. Don't get me wrong, I am not saying that you should do that, because that is a fast track way for you to feeling absolutely shite. By the way, like, you will feel horrendous doing that. But
Actually, to like, and I'll send you the study after, right? There was a guy that carried out a study on himself, and what he was able to do is he was able to actually access like his cholesterol, his blood, he was able to like do proper everything, and all he done was eat, or did he eat? I think he just ate like snacky foods, like he just ate it to prove to people that you can eat crap and still lose weight. Similar to like, you know, like the supersize. There was a guy that done it with McDonald's. There was
yeah,
someone that done
yeah,
it with
that's
McDonald's.
exactly what I was thinking of. See, when you were talking about it, that's exactly where my mind
Yeah,
went.
the guy that done it with just like snack food, he ended up actually being healthier at the end of it, and he said he felt better as well. And like, this is the thing, I've said this before, but people hate this because, like, you know, Sam, you know from speaking to me, I read a lot. Like, I read. I've got a degree in applied sport and exercise science. Fat loss
Yeah.
is like my thing that I like love, and there's a lot of research out there that someone, and again, I can send, I can tag, I can like do all of it. There's research out there to show people that are losing weight but eating shite are healthier than someone that's not losing weight but eating quite healthily, which is like, it sounds mental, but someone that's overweight that's doing exercise is going to be healthier than someone that's of like a healthy weight not exercising, and they'll live longer, which is pretty wild. So like what I'm kind of trying to say here, and not to like completely argue with you, Sam, like, I wouldn't want to just eat shite all the time, because
Nah.
you and I know what healthy feels like, and nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. Nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you're totally right. And again, like I said, that's not something that I recommend, but
yeah,
I'm using it in the sense that I hope, or I would want people to understand that they can have a little bit more flexibility with their nutrition than they might be led to believe that they can,
yeah,
and still get the result that they want. And I think that flexibility is where people struggle with. That balance is where people struggle with, because people don't know where on that seesaw they should be with regards to striking that flexibility and that balance in favor of still achieving their fat loss result, assuming that that's what we're talking about, and that's what
yeah,
people will want to achieve.
yeah. I quite like the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, right, 80% of that you're going to be like health foods. You're going to try and eat things that you would class as healthy. Um, I think when you start saying things like whole foods, people start to get a bit too like almost go like that. You know, like the paleo and the caveman diet. Like they think
Yeah.
when you say whole foods, but like just try and think like how your grandparents ate. Like you're
Yeah.
probably going to want to eat pretty similar to that. But like I was just doing it there. I just done a quick calculation, like 80-20. So let's say the average person eats 21 meals a week. You could have 4 meals that are like higher in calories or unhealthy but still fit within your calories, and that's in you managing to abide by this. But this is the bit where it starts to get mad. Like, and I like this, right? Of 365 days to be like that 80%, you only have to do 292.
Yeah.
And then you could actually take like 4 months off. Like, who the fuck's taking 4 months, like,
Yeah.
just to even just not care? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like your 80%. And like, there's the old saying of like, everything in moderation, including moderation. Like, you actually
Sure.
want to take complete time away from it. So even the 80-20, I think 20% of the time, just do what you want. Like, if you want to overeat, overeat, but just understand that you are going to gain some body fat.
Yeah.
And
I think
me,
what's
on you go, Sam, sorry?
no, go for it. No, on you go, mate.
I think that would be balanced, because if you think about those 20%, like think about like Christmas, birthdays, like other pals' birthdays, weddings, holidays, like that could take up that 4 months of your year. But what's happened in our society is it's like, oh well, I want to do like 4 or 5 days, and then I want to have like 3 or 4 days off, or even like
Yeah.
50. Try and like 50-50 it, but have no consideration of the energy that they're taking in.
Yeah. Yeah,
Does that
because
make
we
sense?
like that's yeah, for sure. Like, and it's funny, like we should be talking about this now because this is exactly what we were talking about inside the team today, and we were talking about the law of averages
Yeah.
and how the law of averages essentially suggests that you as a person, as a personality, as an attitude, as who you are physically in your entire makeup is as a result of the average of everything that you've ever gone through, every decision that you've ever made, every action that you've ever taken, every thought you've ever had, everything that you've ever put into your mouth, literally everything. You as who you are right now is as an average of everything that you have ever done. And it will totally depend on how you define fit and healthy. It will totally depend on how you define balance. It's entirely subjective, and this is where it gets confusing. This is where it gets murky, and this is where a good coach helps you manage those expectations as well, is to help you find what or how you define feeling fit, feeling healthy. But inevitably, if you're doing more things that align with the life that you want to live, which is more productively, more motivated, happier, more energetic, then there's a good chance that that is how you're going to feel for the most part. Like I said, assuming that the habits that you are doing align with that. And if you're not, then you're not. It really is as simple as that on paper.
Yep.
So yeah, it really does kind of depend on just how you define balance, how you define health, how you define fitness as to how you approach your lifestyle, essentially.
So, so I'm very much of the opinion of people just do whatever they want. Like, genuinely, it's your life. You only get one shot at it. Like, be wholeheartedly you. Be unapologetically you. Do your thing. Stick with what you want. But people need to understand that there are laws. There are things that just they are, and this like it's easier to just sometimes accept them. Um, like I've always thought that like everyone's entitled to an opinion until it comes
Sure.
to science, and then it's just how you interpret it.
Yeah.
So you might not interpret the study properly, you might not interpret the science properly, like, and I think a lot of people, and this is me just kind of playing half devil's advocate, like genuinely anybody listening, I am not a drill sergeant. I'm not going to tell people what they can and can't do. I try and make things fit into your life so you can get healthier, fitter, stronger, whatever your goal is. But do you think, and this is something that I tried to actually speak to Clara about once, and I'm going to try and get her to come on again and talk about it,
Yeah.
that like I think what's happening with the world a little bit just now is we're starting to become a bit too empathetic, and I think we're also starting to make things a bit more. I believe in psychology it's called patient centric.
Okay.
So it's like all about what the patient wants, and then there's also it's patient centric, and I think it's called like expert led. They're like the kind of contrasting ways. So like you know how
Yeah.
you're saying like oh anyone can just like interpret what they think's healthy. Like part of me disagrees with that because we
Okay.
have guidelines already.
Sure.
But I like as a human being you can do whatever you want. But I sometimes think that what people need to understand is like in a law you can't just disagree with it. You can say that you don't want to be a part of it or you don't care about it. That's fine. But to then just be like, well, I think healthy is smoking because it makes me feel better. I think it's just eating junk because I see it as self-love. I think it's being in a toxic relationship because from time to time they make me feel good, and that's balance. Like, does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like, I think sometimes as health and fitness professionals we should try and do or promote a bit more. Do you know? Like,
Yeah.
why would we read? Why would we study? Why would we like go on seminars and learn from other people? Why would we care like the way we do to then just let someone be like, oh well, this is what I'm going to do? And you'll have had,
Yeah.
and maybe this is something else interesting we could talk about. Maybe not today because we are 27 minutes in already.
Jeez.
But you'll have had clients that sign up and they're like, oh, I don't actually really want to do that calorie thing. I've heard about that diet before. And then you have to try and explain it to them, and they're like, well, I don't get it, so I'm not going to do it. And you're like, well, that's okay. Let me try and explain it in a different way, as opposed to like just discrediting or discarding the idea of calories, because it's a fact, it's a thing. Or like they come on and they've got their own agenda. They're like, this is what I'm going to do, and you know, like if say I was to say to you, Sam, right, I'm not going to track my calories. I'm going to eat whatever I want. I plan on only really doing like 1,000 steps a day. I don't want to do cardio because it hurts my knees. And weight training, I don't want to get too bulky. But my plan is to get toned. I want to get lean. I want to get fitter. I want to get stronger. And I would actually also like to lose quite a lot of weight. You would probably
Yeah.
say to me, "That's you're going to make that really difficult for yourself."
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And I think so. I kind of want to rewind slightly to the patient centered and the expert
Yeah,
focused
I think
approach.
that's what's
And I
called. Don't
think
quote me on that. I'll look it up though.
yeah, I think it's something to that effect. But essentially, when we work with someone, we are the expert, and the client that we work with is is the person who's invested in the service that we provide. Okay,
Yeah,
so essentially, what they're going to be joining is they're going to be joining your team. They're going to be joining my team with the preconceived idea as to how to achieve fat loss, because again that's what we're talking about. Okay, that's the realm in which we're trying to kind of connect the dots. So they're going to be joining with their own preconceived ideas of how fat loss works, um, how to approach training, how to approach nutrition, and with that, as a result of their own experiences and their own feelings, are going to approach your approach to all these things
yeah,
in a certain way. And I think you're absolutely right in that there are laws, there are scientific laws in life that you can feel any kind of way about, but that it's not going to matter. It is definitive in
yeah,
the way that fat loss is achieved only through a calorie deficit. That is biological, physiological fact.
yeah,
And I suppose then what you have is the responsibility as an exercise and health professional to be able to communicate that to a person who maybe doesn't necessarily believe that in a very empathetic and understanding way. And the only way that we are going to be able to do that in a way that is complementary to the result that they want, which inevitably is fat loss, is by understanding their experiences, is by understanding what they already believe to be true, and sort of, I guess, remolding that.
Yeah.
Because if what they believe to be true was true, mate, they wouldn't be talking to you in the first place.
Yes, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
So the evidence is there.
And I guess, I completely agree, because every client that ever comes on board is going to do what that client wants to do. You just have to try and convince them that, like, right, this is the way that it's going to work, and this is how I think you could get there really easily. Yeah. And I guess, like, a big... On you go, Sam.
And the thing is, you'll know yourself, like, not every client I've ever worked with has got the result that they wanted.
Yeah.
It's the way of it sometimes. Whilst every person who steps through our doors, I know wholeheartedly on my end, and I know knowing you, Tom, wholeheartedly on your end, you will do absolutely everything that you possibly can to make sure that that person has everything they need in order to get the result that they want. Because I know for certain that you'll certainly provide all of the necessary tools, all of the necessary support in order for them to do the best that they possibly can. But unless they're willing to get over certain limiting beliefs that they have about exercise, nutrition, and themselves, and preconceived notions of how they want fat loss or how they think fat loss should go, and all these sorts of things, unless they can move past that, then it just isn't going to work. And I think, well, yeah, you know that with everyone who walks through the door, it's not always the case. I wish it was. I wish everyone who worked with me got the result that they want, but the reality is that they don't. And usually it's as a result of the limiting beliefs that they have placed on themselves more so than anything else, and as a result how they've approached nutrition and exercise as a result of those limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm. I guess a big thing that I kind of wanted to touch on for everybody listening, like fat loss isn't your life either. No. Like we're talking purely about, like, you come into a plan, like you want to lose a certain amount of fat, you go into the phase, you do it, you come out of it. However, what a lot of people think as well is, like, balance is like, right, I'm going to lose that fat and then I'm going to go back to the way that I lived before. You have to go to, like, fat loss and then maintenance, and maintenance is a whole nother beast. And it would be great to actually talk about that sometime, Sam. I've jotted a note down about, like, past clients, results, nightmares, scares, and then, like, some failures as well. Like, we'll maybe come back to talk about that another time. But you touched on there, like, fat loss only happens in a calorie deficit. Let's talk about some fads. Let's talk about some of your favourite fads, and let's explain to people how they work, why they work, and why they only normally work for a short period of time. Like, do you have a favourite one, or one that, like, you fucking hate the most, that, like, gets you?
So, right, I'm going to answer the question first, right? And I'm going to give you a very, very controversial soundbite. And the fad diet I hate the most, right, is fucking Herbalife. I fucking hate it, man. Like, you know what I hate? I hate how positive they are about it. I just hate how happy they are. And, like, no, I don't hate how happy they are. I love how I love, mate. That's not even the controversial soundbite. That's not even the controversial soundbite.
I hate that people are happy.
I hate that people are happy. No, I love that they're happy, but I hate the misinformation that's shared. I hate the assertiveness that they've got in
Yeah.
what they deliver is the only way. And I suppose the controversial soundbite that I have on the back of that is that fad diets, they work.
Yeah.
They work, mate. And the reason that they work, and it's probably what Herbalife, Slim Fast, Weight Watchers, Slimming World, all these other, whatever fad diet you can think of, is that the reason that they work is because they revolve around a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Pure and simple. And that's the reason why fad diets work. But inevitably, why they stop working is because the limits to which these fad diets are applying their calorie deficits do not suit the lifestyles of the people who are doing them. And inevitably, that's why they stop working.
Yeah.
And that essentially is my take. That's my take on fad diets. If you what's your experience? Have you ever tried one actually?
All of them. I've tried them all.
You tried all of them?
All
Yeah.
of them. I actually tried one called the grapefruit diet.
The grapefruit diet.
Yeah. You had to eat grapefruit like every second meal. And I was eating, I think, 500 calories a day. And I dropped a stone the first week. And then you were allowed like one, like they called it a cheat meal. You were allowed one cheat meal. And I pretty much put the whole stone back on after one. And I was like, there's no way. Straight back to it. And genuinely, it was like turkey and broccoli, grapefruit, turkey and broccoli, grapefruit, boiled egg, grapefruit. Like that. I'm pretty sure that is it. I'm pretty sure, right? And it's like known as well. And then the second week, I lost the stone again. So like it came off, it went back on, and then it came off again. And I can remember being like, holy shit, I've lost like in my head, I was like, I've lost 2 stone. But I'd only lost like the 1. And then I think I just had a weekend of boozing and like just takeaways, and I just put it all back on, and I remember being like, that was fucking way too hard. Like, just for nothing. I've cut
So
carbs.
the grapefruit diet, like what was the logic then? Why a grapefruit? What was so special about it?
It was something to do with like the acidity in it that would like
Right.
get straight into fat and dissolve it or something. But like I want people to know that like I have genuinely invested. My personal training journey pretty much started as like I wanted people to feel better, and then I started to realize that people just wanted to look a bit better, and if they looked a bit better, they would feel better, and it was like a catch-22. Like it was like just a circle that just went round. Like people thought the better they looked, the better they would feel, and then you start to realize that there was like a total multifaceted. Like it was like both things happen pretty much. And I want to come back to that about fads as well in a minute. But I always wanted to know what the shortcut was. I wanted to know what the shortcut was, and I wanted to be able to give it to people. And I like studied, and then I would like do an internship, and then I would study more, and then I would try and find someone that had maybe gotten ripped, and I would ask them, and then I would study more, and I just kept doing that cycle. And then all I was finding is like, then I would like see someone online, and I'd be like, right, they're fucking way more ripped than the person I just done my last internship with. They must know the secret. And I would like follow their plan, or I would like buy their supplements. I mean, I used to take a supplement. I can't remember what it was called, but it was an appetite suppressant that was really high in caffeine, like really high. And I used to have to take it, and I'd have to time it so that I was going to be able to take my dog for a walk, because I would gag for about half an hour after. Like my body was just like, like, and I didn't want to be in the house because my mum would be like, well, stop taking that. But I was noticing like slowly, like I was getting a little bit leaner, but it's because I wasn't eating. Like I genuinely didn't eat. And honestly, I've tried to find the shortcut. Like I've spent 15 years. Like And this is the thing as well, Sam. And this is just a theory, like a Thomas, like plucking shit out of my ass here. I think everybody is still looking for a shortcut. Like when you look at science, they're trying to find the most efficient way. Like that's the shortcut. Like people are trying to find like what's the most efficient nutrition, what's the most efficient like sleep patterns, what are the most efficient. Like everyone's trying to find that shortcut, and I think we're very, 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 very close to just like knowing what it is. But everyone wants to try and like get that little 1%, that 0.5%, that something. And I like. So, like, the reasoning behind trying it was, I thought it was maybe going to be a shortcut, and then, like I say, it was something to do with acidity, or like it was to do with like pH balance, and like it had like a negative effect on fat cells, or I can't remember exactly. I have it somewhere still.
Yeah, like that whole like alkaline acidity within your body, your stomach, your body has to be in an alkaline state to lose body and all that. Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I remember when that was kicking about.
Anybody listening? That's bollocks, by the way.
Bollocks,
Like
absolute bollocks.
hormones have very little impact on fat loss. Like pH balances and all that, it doesn't matter. It's energy balance. It's how much calories go in the body, how many calories you put out, and that is like that is it. But Sam, as I was saying there, the one thing I want to touch on, and I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about this as well, and like that happiness thing that you said there, like that made me laugh because when you've been in a calorie deficit for say, like, and you've actually managed to stay in it, and you've kept it, and you've held it, and you drop a little bit of weight, say like 4-6 weeks in, you feel class. Like you do, and like you become more productive. You do actually feel a bit better. Like you feel a bit lighter on your feet. It does take like I would say. I'd say like 3+ weeks, depending on how aggressive you're going. But like after that point, you do start feeling class. And I think because of like, if you become an ambassador for a company, you're going to go all in on your product. And I think if you do start to lose a little bit of weight, I think if you do get yourself on a calorie deficit for a little while, you'll start feeling amazing. And I think that's another thing that kind of snags people with fad diets. Is like, you can like cut carbs out and still eat like heaps of bacon, heaps of steak, heaps of cheese, like enjoy, like, do you know what I mean? Enjoyable, highly palatable foods. You could stick to that for a little while, get yourself in a deficit, and then like feel great for it. But I think everybody feels great being in a calorie deficit.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Sorry, mate. 1 second. I just need to let the cat in because he's absolutely
go for it.
Absolutely screaming at me. Come on, then, bud. Come on. So, to kind of to just piggyback on what you were saying there, Tom, in that if you're someone who has a little bit of body fat to lose, once you've been in a period of time, a calorie deficit, and you've started to see the difference that's had on your body composition, and once you've lost a little bit of body fat, you feel a ton better. You do. You feel all of the things that you described. You feel a lot more alert. You feel a lot more productive. You feel a lot more positive. And those things on their own are very, very important outside of just losing body fat, because essentially that's what keeps people going. And if only there was a way to kind of bottle that up and use it whenever you felt you needed it. But yeah, for those of you that have dropped a little bit of body fat, been in that calorie deficit for a sustained period of time, you feel a ton better. And even if you've not, like, how amazing do you feel when you've, after 2 weeks, when you've been exercising, you've been eating that little bit better, you feel immediately 10 times better.
Yeah.
And I think the shortcuts that you were talking about, the shortcuts are what fad diets essentially market themselves as. They market themselves as the shortcut to end all shortcuts. That their way is the way to achieving everlasting fat loss. And it's, and I'm sorry to say, but it's not. It's bullshit. And I think whilst fad diets work, and they work for some people, and they work for way less people, way more people, or they don't work for way more people, is what I'm trying to say. I think that black and white thinking is what is really throwing people off when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to nutrition, because they feel like it almost has to be done one singular way, and that is the only way that they're going to be able to drop body fat, and that is what leaves people in, I suppose, a massive pit of despair and frustration and anger and upset. And yeah, again, to lift the lid on that, there is no one singular way to approach your diet. So long as a calorie deficit is applied, how it is applied is entirely dependent on the person and the lifestyle and the responsibilities they have within their life. And the best application of a calorie deficit is the last one that you ever need to do, and that could be the keto diet. It could be Slim Fast. It could be Herbalife. It could be like the 5-2 approach. It could be Slimming World. It could be Weight Watchers, but it is only the last one that you'll ever need if it suits the criteria of what your lifestyle is, and it matches you. It's like as simple as that, and that's where people get tripped up. Is this black and white thinking? There's a massive grey area in the middle, huge.
Mm-hmm. Do you think a lot of people associate fat loss and dieting with like misery, as opposed to like satisfaction? Like, I'm going to try and find the most satisfactory way, the way that I feel best, to be able to stick to for a long time. And do you think they just, because you'll get yourself, like, being a personal trainer, the amount of messages you get, you're like, I'm needing to kick up the arse. And you're like, you probably don't. You probably just need your hand held and a cuddle.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Well, think about, like, I'll ask you, where do you think that misery with approaching dieting comes from? Where do you think that misery comes from with approaching exercise comes from?
Mate, I don't know. I don't know if it's like an internal thing. I don't know if it's like a society thing.
Well, think about how many times they've probably tried to do it before.
I definitely think failed attempts. That's like the internal. I definitely think failed attempts. But I think even like you'll know yourself. Like, there'll be people that are like, "Oh, I want to lose fat. I'm going to start running," and you'll say, "Do you like running?" And they're like, "No." Like, I'm even talking about that, and then like, you say someone's like, "Oh, I'm going to jump on the keto diet, but I love bread, so I don't." And you're like, well, why are you taking away some of your like favorite things, or why are you forcing yourself to do something that you don't like to try and get something that you want when you can actually? And I suppose maybe this is just a eureka moment for myself. Like, I guess as a coach, you're just trying to find the most satisfactory way for someone to approach a calorie deficit.
Mate, that's exactly it. Like, that is, like, as predominantly fat loss coaches, isn't that literally just our job description right there? Is to help someone find the most applicable calorie deficit that suits them, and finally gets them the result that's eluded them for years, sometimes even decades.
Yeah.
Like, that is literally our job description, combined with the fact that it's not just about getting you your result, it's about teaching you what it is that you need to know in order to sustain that result long term and feel fucking brilliant doing it. Because, mate, people deserve that. People deserve to feel better than they're currently feeling.
Satisfaction and fat loss. I'm going to do a post about that.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. Oh, hello.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Thank you, mate. Go on,
Special guest.
over the special guest, Raymond.
What do you think then? Where do you think this idea of like carbs are the enemies come from?
Well, I think, like, for me, I think the idea of carbs being the enemy comes from the fact of that when you eat more carbohydrates, you do actually put on weight,
Yeah,
but it's not body fat. Obviously, unless a calorie surplus is applied over a period of time, it's not body fat. And I think the reason people think that carbohydrates are the enemy is because when consumed in short windows, more than what your body is used to, you will put on body weight. And and the reason for that is purely because of how carbohydrates are digested and stored within your body, which requires water to be absorbed and able to do. And so as a result, influences scale weight. And yeah, I think that's, to answer your question, Tom, that is literally where the
I think,
idea that carbs are the enemy comes from, because we're so focused on what scale weight tells us
yeah,
and nothing else.
that's exactly what I was going to say. To be honest,
Yeah.
um, if people are listening, like think about the word carbohydrate. Like Sam's saying,
Yeah.
carbs actually eventually get stored in the muscle as glycogen. Is it the brain, liver, and muscles? So you could be running like a calorie deficit, and your glycogen stores will diminish. Like you maybe won't be sitting at 100%. You eat some carbs, those stores get bumped back up. That then gets held as weight. For every gram of carb that you take in, your body holds on to it's like 3.8 to 4 grams of water. So instead of your
Yeah.
body just being able to like pee it out or sweat it out or just use it, it gets held onto like the process of carbohydrates. I believe it's the process of carbohydrates. That don't quote me on that, but like I've not looked into that sort of physiology side for a little while.
Yeah.
Um, Here's a funny story actually, like talking on carbs, right? There's a PT in our broth that brags to their clients that if you work with them, you'll get more carbs than you do if you work with TS Health and Fitness.
So they're actually using your name
Yes. Yes.
to push their own
Yes.
push their own business. Mate,
Yes.
you've like here, Tom, you've made it.
I fucking... It definitely doesn't feel
You're
like it.
mate, you're Hollywood. You're absolutely Hollywood.
So, for anybody listening that's maybe heard that this person gives you more
For
carbs...
anybody listening, Tom's a fucking superstar. That's what he is. He's an absolute. Give this man his props. Give this man his roses. He's big time. So the next time you see him, roll out the red carpet, get the paparazzi down, get it on the front page of the newspapers. This man's living rent free in people's minds. And
And
I love that.
fucking hide your carbs because I'll take them off you.
hide your carbs, yeah.
So, like anybody that's listening, carbs probably aren't what you think they are. Like you'll all be thinking donuts, pizzas, cookies, sweets. Like these foods are actually just like high in calories. Like they're normally like a 50-50 mix of just like carbs, fats, and then probably a little bit of protein in there. And if you think about like, if you just think about it like, for a gram of carbs and protein, you have 4 points, let's say, as calories. So let's say you have like the 4 just in like a carbohydrate source. And then let's say we add some fats to it, which is actually 9 points, so over double. And then we do add some protein to that thing as well. So like a pizza has like cheese on it, which is fats. It has the flour, which is the carbs, and then it'll probably have some potentially have some meaty topping. And you're mixing in carbs, fats, and proteins in a single food source that people are getting confused with. So I'm not telling people to not eat these things; they're just higher in calories. carbs are things like fruits, vegetables. Do you class fruits and vegetables as carbs, or do you class them as like sources of fiber? And this, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this.
So I wouldn't class veg as a carb source, but more as like a mineral
Yeah.
and fiber source.
Yeah.
But fruit most definitely I would class as a carb source.
Okay. So will we keep fruit and vegetables in just for argument's sake, or do you want to take them out?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So fruits and vegetables. Then it's going to be things like breads, pasta, rice, um, oats, anything else, cereals.
yeah.
Like I think that's where you're.
Potatoes,
Say that again.
potatoes.
Potatoes.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you said that. Chips.
Chips. Yeah. So I actually thought you said Doritos.
What did you say? Doritos?
Yeah, I thought you said Doritos. I was like, they're a bit fatty, but whatever. Yeah, let's
Yeah, Doritos. Yeah, Doritos. Yeah, chuck Doritos in there.
throw
Crisps.
them in. And like they're your carb sources. So this person's actually telling people that I take them from their life because they're miscommunicating. As like, I am obsessed with the nutrition side of fat loss. Like I love it, but it's way more simple than what you think, right?
Yeah.
But there are like minimums and there are suggestions for helping with fat loss. So there's stuff coming out saying like the higher the protein, and there's actually like I don't think there's any ceiling on the amount of protein that you eat in a fat loss phase. The more the better. It's going to help you. But the recommendations are like 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. There's people now saying that it could be down at 1, but they are saying that like the more protein during a fat loss phase, the better. I don't recommend just tanning loads of protein. I would stay probably between that 1.6 and 2. Like that's just me. Sam, about the same.
Yeah, more or less, mate. Yeah, more or less.
And then what the other recommendations are with fats is you don't go below, I think it's 0.25 for men and like 45 for women. So when I use my scientific approach, I'm giving someone a protein target within what's recommended. I'm then keeping people's fats above a certain minimum. That if someone else is then giving you more carbohydrates, they're either pulling your protein down or not being like safe with the amount of fats that you're getting, just so that they can brag about giving you more carbohydrates. So if you are listening and you know who it is, you can tell them they're a fucking idiot. Yeah, it's the cat.
Like Raymond's like, fuck it, let me hit them.
Let me hit them. I love
I think-
carbs.
Yeah, I think so. What Tom's speaking about is that Raymond, right? Come on, bud. Come on. I know you love everything fat loss. I know you love training. I know you want to tell Tom about your gaining phase just now, but like, it's just now's not the time. All right. So yeah, to piggyback on what Tom's saying. Again, obviously, what we're assuming is that this, like, an individual is aiming for fat loss, so a calorie deficit has to be applied. So essentially, what you will have is your maintenance amount of calories, which is the amount of calories that you need in order to sustain the body weight that you are currently at, body weight specifically. And then what you'll have is under that maintenance, a calorie deficit. Now, how aggressive you go into that calorie deficit is entirely up to you. But for me, what I'll do is I'll generally just set someone under that cap where their maintenance is, because usually, generally speaking, this is where you will have the most enjoyment when it comes to your nutrition. You'll feel quite energetic. You'll feel quite, upbeat, positive, etc., and psychologically as well, because you still have quite a lot of freedom with nutrition at this point here. Psychologically, you're in a very good spot as well. So what you'll have is the calories that you have that put you just into a deficit, and within those calories you will have what we will call, I guess, the makeup of of that calorie target, okay, which is, like Tom said, your protein, your carbs, and your fats. There are recommendations based on certain certain things. For example, uh, Tom said aiming for a protein target of about 1.5 to 2 grams per. Um,
Kilogram of body
I
weight.
know a lot. Yeah, kilogram of body weight. That's right. Is a good way to go, but you could go less. You could go higher. It's entirely dependent on the individual. Now, is there increased benefits to appetite and things like that when you have slightly higher amounts of protein? Yeah, for sure. But usually, what that means is that you'll have to sacrifice somewhere else within the carbs and the fats that we were talking about to hit that slightly higher number of protein. Bearing in mind that you only have a set number of calories that you can have, assuming that fat loss is your goal. So yeah, whilst there are certain guidelines, how you approach that is entirely person dependent. Like for me, mate, I like to have less protein,
Yeah.
to be honest. I actually like to have less protein because I like to have a little bit more space for things like pasta,
Hmm.
for things like toast, for example. Um, because when I eat these things, I generally enjoy them
Hmm.
a lot better. Um, but yeah, I could totally see why people would lean more towards a slightly higher protein diet for people that who are maybe a little bit bigger in order to kind of help satiate their appetite a little bit more because protein takes a little bit longer to break down in the stomach. So as a
Yep.
result, you feel fuller for longer, etc., etc. So these are the kind of little nuances that we've been talking about throughout that are entirely person dependent.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the recommendations, I guess I probably should have touched on that, but I liked the way that you just rounded that up, Sam. Like I really liked that actually.
Yeah.
Um, the recommendations are, as Sam said there, for the protein, it's one to keep you fuller for longer. It's for satiety, and then the other one is for muscle retention. When you're in a fat loss phase, you are in a catabolic state, like the opposite to anabolic. Anabolic means grow, catabolic means, or catabolism means like to shrink down, and and protein can prevent that and help you maintain muscle. You all have to remember as well. I'm doing something quite extreme. Sam's again doing something quite extreme. We're trying to get that like 1% better. We're trying to get that shortcut for like the best physique we can. But like as a total nuance, you actually only need 10% of your total calories from each of them. So you could go like 10% protein, like 40% carbs, 40% fats, and that's going to be just as healthy as if you went, say, 80% protein, 10% carbs, 10% fat. Like you actually only need 10% of each one minimum to still be healthy. Because if you think about like vegans, they don't get a lot of protein. You think about people on keto diets, they don't get a lot of carbs. Um, like there's different diets and different lifestyles that don't allow people to have much of different what are also called like we described it as like the makeup, like they're called macronutrients. You'll have maybe heard people say macros. Like there's people that are still very healthy, only getting small amounts of all these things. I'm talking purely as like a fat loss recommendation, but as Sam's also saying, depending on your lifestyle, depending on what you're like, your enjoyment and your own satisfaction, like there are other ways to do it. There are other
Yeah.
ways. Like you can pull anything down.
Yeah, like for sure. Yeah, and I think yeah, just to kind of like if you're sitting there and you're thinking, Jesus, like macros, like maintenance calories, all these sorts of things, like don't don't worry. Don't worry. You can overthink these things into a point of submission where you don't actually do anything at all. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's absolutely what Tom and me are. No, we're not trying to do that whatsoever. I think I can be quite guilty sometimes of being like because of how much because of yeah, I think you'll be the same, Tom. Because of how much we know, I never like giving anyone a definitive answer
Yeah,
when
I
I
agree with
think
that.
when I think someone is looking for a definitive answer because because the nuances are there are so many of them. But if you are someone who's listening to this, who feels uncomfortable in their own skin, who feels unhappy with how their clothes are fitting and doesn't like what they see in the mirror, and you want to lose a little bit of weight, I want you to know that when it comes to macros, all these sorts of things, it doesn't matter so long as you are in a calorie deficit. If you're just in a calorie deficit, don't don't worry too much about the content of your diet, the content of your nutrition, so long as you are in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Likewise, if your goal isn't even fat loss and you just want to feel that little bit better, just drink plenty of water, add in a little bit of fruit and veg, get a decent night's sleep, and exercise for an hour or two a week. And you'd be doing yourselves a ton of favors if you just started with that.
And I guess like to come as well to add into that, like if we're trying, like if you want to, like what we're talking about is like the science. We're talking about the laws that we spoke about earlier on.
Sure.
Like we're talking about the things that are just facts. Like there's a million different approaches, and like the end goal is to be able to eat intuitively to not regain your weight, or to be able to actually just intuitively eat to lose the weight. And one of the best pieces of advice, and I can't remember where I read it from, it might actually be an old Japanese thing now that I'm thinking about it, but it's about like eating till you're full, not till you're stuffed.
Right.
So like just eat to a point of like, right, I think like if I have, I don't know, 2 more mouthfuls, 5 more mouthfuls, whatever it ends up being, like I'm gonna be pretty full after it. Like you would just learn to stop then.
Yeah.
I've never been able to make that work for me, but for some people, for some people, like just eat till you're full, not till you're stuffed.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, for sure. Eat until. Yeah, I think that's it. I was literally trying to think of maybe perhaps a better way to describe that. But yeah, eat until you're full, not until you're stuffed. And I think that's actually a really, really good way to do it, because it kind of breaks down the mold of feeling like you need to have breakfast, lunch, and
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah.
Like, you also don't need to do that. If that's something that you feel like you need to do, or that, someone has said that by having breakfast, it's the most important meal a day, and all these sorts of things. These rules are, well, they're not rules for fat loss. They're just approaches, certain ways to go about dieting, but they're not concrete, hard hitting rules. Can they help? Yeah, for sure, but they would help people whose lifestyles accommodate those approaches. For me, for example, I don't actually eat breakfast, because when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel particularly hungry. I actually go and exercise, get my cardio done, get my training done on a quote unquote empty stomach. And then I come home, and that's when I eat, because I've worked up a little bit of an appetite. So that's how I approach things. Whereas Tom, I don't know, do you?
That's exactly how we both train early in the morning.
Yep.
I do have like an intra drink, but again, like
Yeah.
that just means I have a carbohydrate drink during my training. And again, it's because I'm trying to compete, I'm trying to be competitive. It's something that could help you, anybody listening, but it's probably not necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't eat before I train, I drink that during. I think it's like maybe 50 calories. It's not much
Yeah.
energy, but it just like ticks me over. It's funny that we're talking about this, because I actually had a client right before I came on or right before I done my cardio, and I was talking to her about like, she was saying like, should I have targets? And I was like, well, we have just been tracking calories for a long time, and we've been trying to have like a source of protein with everything, so we can try it. And when I explained to her like, the rest of your calories can be carbs if you like, she was like, oh my, is it no carbs before marbs? So I actually want to blame The Only Way is Essex, if it was from that. I don't know what it was from. Like, that's a big part of like why people have demonized carbs. Same as like the Atkins diet, the keto. It's just a common thing, and it's a quick fix, or it's a quick I don't know how you would explain it. You can get results fast on scale weight, but it's not impacting fat as much as
No.
you think it is.
No.
Like Sam was saying, like you just deplete some glycogen or energy stored in the muscle. You're not then holding on to as much water as what like Sam was talking about earlier on. You then see this bigger drop of weight, and you think like, right, this is the secret. Whereas actually, it's not doing what you think.
No. And I think, yeah, I think as quickly as quick of an impact cutting out carbs, eating more carbs can have on scale weight, it's not a direct indication of how much body fat you're losing, and
Yeah,
that is the I think that's the definitive thing that I think people could do better at understanding, is that scale weight does not define how much body fat you're losing, and all carbs are doing by cutting or adding them in is having a very, very quick impact on scale weight. That is it.
yeah,
Nothing more, nothing less. And that is not what is determining how successful or unsuccessful your fat loss goal is. Because yeah, I want that to be the clear distinction, is that when you are dieting, it is body fat that you want to lose.
yeah. Okay, last topic, and then we'll get going because that's
Yeah,
an hour and 10 minutes now. Right.
crazy, crazy mates.
How do you navigate through social occasions during fat loss phases?
So controversial one again, mate. Honestly, I'm the shittest coach, shittest PT ever. But I will approach them like wholeheartedly. Like I will, I will go mad at a social occasion, and that I will eat pretty much what I want, and I will drink what I want. Now here's the context. I don't have many of them often. In fact, like Kim and me will have a date night every month where like we're in our beds for 9:30. So there's not really like we're not going crazy. And then maybe I'll have like a slightly madder event where it's maybe like a lot of my friends are getting married at the moment. Like there might be an engagement party, but it's once every 6 or 8 months. Okay, so for context, I go mad at my social occasions because I just don't have that many of them. However, for someone who's maybe a lot more sociable than I am, which is generally a lot of my clients,
Yeah.
maybe every other weekend they'll have an event on. That's where we'll probably have to look at things a little bit more closely, if obviously the goal is fat loss. You know. What about you?
I think it's a funny like that point that you made there at the end. I think that's such a like it's an important point to make, because if someone's coming to us, they're paying us money to get them to lose weight or fat. Like we'll say fat because it's fat you want to lose.
Sure.
Like a lot of you don't want to be paying for as long as you might need to if you want to have a very, very busy social life. You want to have a lot of flexibility and freedom, be able to eat like Sam just said there. That like we could say to you, you could do this or you could do this. Once you're in that situation, it can be completely like, especially when alcohol's involved. And I guess alcohol's one thing that we could touch on as well, a little bit
Yeah.
here. I have 3 different ways, and it depends for me where I am. Did I wrap up my point I was trying to make there?
I sort of asked you, how do you approach social occasions? So
Yeah,
I'm assuming that
yeah.
your three ways are going to be dependent on.
So yeah, so my 3 ways are, and if say you were to be coached by me, right? Depending how long you've been dieting, how long you've been in a fat loss phase, I would probably tell you to just go and enjoy yourself. Like if
Yeah.
you've been going for say 3 weeks, maybe longer, maybe even you managed like it's maybe you were someone that was very social beforehand and you were going out 3 or 4 times a week and you had something on. I would just tell you to just do like your normal. Like let's not take anything from you. Let's keep you with some normality. I personally, if I'm not in prep, I just let myself eat intuitively. But that was something that took me a long time to learn. Like we were talking about, like the cheat days that I used to have were fucking mental. Like I used to like, I pretty much used to restrict quite heavily Monday to Friday afternoon. Probably training twice a day. Not very healthy. Like if I'm honest, I'm not. That's not very healthy. But I was pretty lean, pretty athletic, had abs, and I was like, this works. And then on like Friday night, I would get like a McDonald's, a KFC, a Domino's, a massive pick and mix, and then probably like a
Yeah.
Tiger loaf and some dips. And that would
Yeah.
be like Friday night. That would just be Friday night. Saturday would just be like breakfast, lunch, evening meal, exact same. Finishing off whatever I couldn't finish the night before. And then Sunday would probably be some sort of takeaway again, because I just felt shite after like either boozing or just eating like crap for 2 days. But the way I approach it now is like I'll just go out and I'll try not think about fat loss. Like the way I sometimes talk about it is like you've got your goal on one side and then you got life. Sometimes your goal's going to be at the forefront and you're going to be like, nah, that's a bit more important this time. So you'll maybe try different methods to allow the social occasion to fit. But then sometimes, like if it says like your best mate's wedding or it's the holiday of a lifetime, you don't want to be going in being like, oh, how many steps have I done today? Oh, geez, have I hit my protein target? Like you don't want to think like that. You want to be able to just go, have drinks if you drink, have a laugh, just eat, like be merry. Maybe even get yourself a bit full, put yourself in a food coma, and even if that is you just want to do it at home, like from time to time. Like I call it like I don't call it fuck it, but I call it like just let your hair down, like just do it. If like so last week I had two things on. I had a meeting, like a working lunch thing. I just made it fit into my calories. So I ate say like 2,000 calories. Oh no, I think I ate like 1,600 and I allowed myself to have like 900 calories left because I was quietly confident the meal would fit into 900 calories.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do that, but I've got I don't think it's like any sort of superpower or anything, but I've just got the understanding and I've got like the willpower, I guess you could call it, to like even
You've got knowledge.
if I'm hungry later in the day, I just won't eat. Like I accept it. And then if say someone and like then like the third, so I just make it fit. If I'm in prep or like dieting, and then say someone else has stuff like regularly, what I would probably do is like Sam was talking earlier on, like when you've got your total calories, Sam just takes you down a little bit lower, allows for like a small deficit. I would put that person in a slightly larger deficit to bank calories, so they can save up. Say we take down an extra 150, that leaves them, or let's say 200 because it's easier maths. It leaves them like 1,400 calories to like splurge over their actual target. So it's almost like they could have 2 days worth of calories in a day, or however. Like, and they're like the three kind of methods that I use.
Yeah.
With clients, it's normally just fucking go enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And that's my recommendation as well, mate. In that now this could probably be perceived one of two ways, depending on who you are,
Yeah.
what like how you want to go about things, right? But my recommendation for clients is that the result that you're aiming for right now accounts for a very, very small percentage for how you are going to be living your life for the rest of your life. Okay?
100%.
Assuming like it's going to be assuming that it's going to be the last time that you ever have to train for fat loss, which is what I as a coach pride myself on giving my team. So on that, whether that's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, which is usually around about the amount of time that I work with an individual, you are on the team. There's a lot of your life left to live.
Yeah.
And so what essentially I believe saying to my clients, look, just go and enjoy your life. Just go and enjoy your social occasions, etc., is giving them the freedom to enjoy and explore essentially what life is going to be like post result. as
Yeah.
well. And again, the flip side of the coin there is that you might be thinking, well, Sam, because I'm going to be spending more of my life not training for fat loss, would that not be more of a reason to sacrifice more now so that I can get to my results sooner and then just live my life the way that I want? Well, yeah, you may have an argument there, and it just depends on the person. But what I think and what I believe is that by allowing yourself to just go and enjoy your social occasions, that's how you're going to want to approach each and every single social occasion that you have from now until the end of your life.
Yeah.
So so go and do it. So go and do it. And yeah, you're going to be thinking less about fat loss for the rest of your life. So essentially what this is just good practice for what your life is going to be like post result, and is very much part of the process of learning how to manage, sustain, and understand exactly how fat loss works. Because like you said, Tom, fat loss is in theory a very, very simple thing, but maintenance is a different beast. Like, people always think that training and nutrition and all these sorts of things has to be for something specifically, like something tangible, like fat loss, like a result on the scale, like a certain look or certain body fat. And maintenance is a very different beast, because you don't have those things to determine how successful a maintenance phase is.
Yeah.
It's all in here and how you feel, and again, that's where the kind of real understanding needs to be applied. And
Yeah.
that's a tough place to be. So, learning how to sustain that maintenance through just simply enjoying your social occasions when they come up is just key for me. Absolutely key.
Yeah. When I'm prepping, I wouldn't,
Shit.
I'd avoid probably, or like I would go and just have a black coffee, or I would like I still do stuff, but I just wouldn't eat. Um, but like the reason for that is what I'm doing is extreme, and my end result actually does matter. It gets judged. What I
Yeah.
say to clients is like, if you lose those extra pound that week, or you lose an extra £2, and you're laid on your deathbed, you're not going to be like more happy. You're going to remember like the occasions that you had, the friends, the family. You want people to know that you loved them. You're not going to be thinking like, oh, shit, I shouldn't have had that. I shouldn't have went to that wedding that weekend because I could have lost £2 more if I'd
Sure.
stayed with Tom or Sam. Like, 100%.
You're right. You're not thinking like that. Like, there's more important things to life than fat loss. Simply
100%.
put, can fat loss give you a semblance of confidence? Sure. Can it give you a semblance of happiness? Sure. But really, where long lasting, sustainable happiness and confidence comes from, in how you feel about yourself. And fat loss is not going to determine that, but having really heartwarming and fulfilled social occasions, family life, relationships, and all these sorts of things are. So by being present in these moments is so, mate, like I said, key for me. So
It,
key.
do you not find as well that it's quite a hard thing to get clients to do because they've been so
Yeah,
like battered by fat loss? When you're telling them like, look, just
yeah,
chill out, just go out and enjoy yourself, they're like, oh no, how many calories are in that? How many?
for
Yeah,
sure.
it's
Like, cause, and I think, that's because, like, maybe we have a hand to play in that as well, mate. Because they're working with us, and our focus is obviously fat loss slash lifestyle transformations. There's maybe an element of pressure that they feel that we're not consciously applying, but that subconsciously they
yeah,
feel that because I have a coach, because I have a PT, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. So that when they hear from our mouth, go mad, go and enjoy yourself, they're thinking to themselves, whoa, this is counterintuitive to what I believe the process should be like. And again, like I said, that sort of brings it back to the expert-led, client-focused approach in that we're dealing with a lot of people's sort of preconceived ideas as to what fat loss should be like. The opinions that they have of food, the opinions they have of themselves, the experiences that they've had up until that point. That's all part of that process, which is so, like, mate, honestly, I think we could probably do another 2-hour podcast on the nuances of what makes a person, and
Yeah.
maybe that's best. Maybe that's best for a special guest to come on and help us brain fart a little bit more on that one.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
yeah, being a coach is wild, mate. It's absolutely wild.
It really is.
People are wild.
People are wild. We're wild. You and I are wild. Everyone. It is. But yeah, I actually can't wait to get myself into a maintenance phase, like after next year, because I've been bulking and cutting since 2019.
Yeah.
You know, like my life's been like phases. I'd rather it just be like a spell of like, right, just you want to have a bit more food today, just because you want to, just do it. You don't want to force yourself to eat. You don't need to. Like, yeah.
But
I'm
just
looking
because,
forward to that.
just because you want to,
Yeah.
and that's important. That's important. Just because you want to.
Yep. Yeah. Will we wrap that up there? Because that's an hour and 26 minutes.
Yeah, mate. I think that's good. That's good.
We'll touch on mindset and training, or we'll pick one of them. Let us know in the comments what you want us to touch on next, mindset or training. Or if you have any questions about anything that we spoke about in there, please do let us know. Or if you have any questions about nutrition that you'd like us to delve into a little bit more deeper, also, just let us know. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you all soon.
Thank you for your time, Tom.